burdock a little bit and just cultivating burdock. First of all, this is brand new, and I will be pulling the roots this fall. I don't know how big they'll be, partly because you know, one of the things that you need to provide for burdock to get good roots is a really well cultivated loamy soil. And because this is a brand new garden, and it was massively compact, we did bring in a like an earth mover and pulled out several feet and then put in new topsoil and some organic matter and things, but it's still not as good as it would be, you know, in probably a couple of years. So it'll be interesting to see how the burdock root comes out. You can see the leaves right now, they're really immature, but they have that really veiny feel, and you can see they're really neat, and they're going to grow very large, which also cuts down on, you know, weed competition in the garden. Eases up your job a little bit. In Japan, the root is used very regularly in sautés and soups, and it's grown as a regular crop. Now here in the United States and also in Canada, a lot of Canada and some states in the US, it's considered an invasive. So before you go putting it in your garden, check to see, you know, what, you know, if it's an invasive in your state. It is part of the Asteraceae family, and the other common name is gobo, G-O-B-O. You might have actually seen that in the grocery store. Like I said, it prefers the loamy soil and a kind of loamy and loose, cultivated to between 12 and 18 inches, giving it enough space to be able to develop that really nice root system. If it is compacted soil, you'll get roots, but you'll end up having small, kind of spindly rat tail-like roots that aren't very good for either food or medicine. The first year, it is just leafing, and all the energy is going into the leaves and down into the root system. It's producing this really deep, good root system so that it can feed itself over the winter, and then the next year go into its flowering and seeding. So it's the first year roots that you want to cultivate. The only time I would recommend letting it go to seed is if you're trying to collect seed and you don't have any, like I don't have any burdock growing on my property. But if I did, I would choose that area to allow it to go to seed. I don't know that I'll let any of these go to seed this year, or next year. I may leave one in order to go to seed so I can plant a little bit bigger, but beware at that second year, you're going to need to control those things. And remember, they come out in burrs, so they produce this purple flower and then turn into burrs, which will just attach to pretty much anything, kind of the inspiration for Velcro. So if you do want to do the seeds, then you know, watch them when they start drying up and they produce that burr. You can collect the burrs and put them in a bag and kind of pound them to get the seeds out. Otherwise, you may get something in your eye or, you know, clothing or whatever, because they can kind of spring everywhere. And then you can plant it. And that is the way to cultivate it. You just make sure you have your looser soil, put the seed right on top, rake it in, tamp it down, and it'll grow. It does fine in both full sun and part shade. So even under a tree would be a fine place to grow, especially if you do something like a food forest. I think Sean's got some of this growing up in our food forest, and it's nice because, again, those big leaves will help reduce some of the other, you know, weedy issues that you might have in your garden. So it is really good for a lymph mover and for the liver. A lot of other things too, and this is one of the plants that I'll be covering in my Materia Medica section in our membership on the preparedhomestead.org. So I'll go into more detail on it there. It does prefer high nitrogen, and that's one of the reasons why you'll find it a lot in fields and sides of roads, but a lot of fields, and farmers are more than happy for you to come and dig up their burdock. So if you know someone that has burdock growing in their in their pastures, you know, just ask them, hey, do you mind? And because it's high nitrogen there, so the seed can be stratified, but it really doesn't need to be. It has a really high germination rate. It likes to spread, and it does a good job at it. So, so that's it. Again, you can leave it to self-seed and allow it to spread. I mean, because this is more of a demonstration garden for me, and we allow some of these other things to grow more wildly and unhindered in our other garden areas and on our property. I probably will not allow this ever to self-seed, because I would have a huge, probably it would take over this whole area. But if you have a giant area that you really want to cultivate it, then that would be a good thing to do, and it does it well all by itself. It wouldn't even need that much assistance from you at all. So that is it for burdock and a brief introduction to my garden. Oh, I forgot, I've got hyssop growing over here too, and some echinacea back there. It's just starting to come up. 2 different kinds of echinacea, and then some calendula too. So, all right, well, thanks for joining me, and check us out on the preparedhomestead.org. And if you're interested in learning more about, oh, I forgot caraway and sage, learning more about herbs and not only how to grow them, but also how to use them, then join our membership and get into the Materia Medica section and also herbal medicine making. Hope to see you there.